5 months ago, my training was a mess. I had no momentum, I had zero training direction, and to put it simply, I just wasn't getting any stronger. I failed a PR squat double attempt. I hit 10 kg below my best bench press at an RP of 10. I failed a PR deadlift attempt on deadlift, which was 904 for 2. And shortly after that, I hit 804 on the deadlift, which is 100 pounds less than my max. And it was like an RP of 9 or 10, or at least that's what it felt like. Fast forward 3 months after that, and you guys have obviously seen all the PRs that I've hit. I've hit a 15 kg all-time deadlift PR as an advanced lifter. I hit my previous bench PR, which is 584, but this time it was at an RP of 8. And I hit a comfortable squat single at 782 while just coming back from injury. What I want to do in this video is share with you guys the exact blueprint or the exact framework, mindset, training approach, and everything like that I used to go from that first scenario that I described to exactly where I am right now, having a lot of momentum, predictability, and predictable progress in my training. And my hope is that you guys could use this exact same framework to go from not making progress to making progress in your training. Or if you guys are already making progress, you can implement this to ensure that you continue seeing the type of progress that it is you want to see, right? Just as a general overview of what I did, I've spoken about this in previous videos, and I will go over a lot of the principles that I've spoken about in previous videos. And I will also show you guys an exact breakdown of the programming structure that I used and how I sort of like built that momentum in training to seemingly make progress at will, If you guys remember, I had the whole like back and forth with like me and Bob. And then I was genuinely just like, you know what, it's time to hit some PRs. And I always get a lot of questions about people like hitting plateaus or just simply being in a spot where they feel like they're unable to make progress. And in this video, along with the other videos that I did similar to this one, I want to share with you guys how I genuinely make progress kind of like when I want to, and how I think you guys could do the exact same thing, right? So again, just as a general overview, what I did was I looked at my training from a macro perspective. Looking at training from a holistic perspective or a multi-training block perspective, and understanding how to go from, hey, I'm in the spot where I'm just simply doing volume, maybe I'm doing some sort of like bodybuilding, power building, higher volume powerlifting training, or maybe I just have no momentum at all, to I will hit a PR is a very important thing. And also understanding how your body goes from that point A to that point B is a very critical thing. So I looked at my training from a macro perspective. A couple of the things I spoke about in my previous videos are the AGWA method and identifying phase type. So just as a brief overview, AGWA is spelled AGWA. The A stands for analyze and understand. The G stands for goal set. The W stands for work backwards. And the A stands for adjust if need be, or something like that, right? Now, identifying phase type is actually similar to the AGWA method in my opinion. But what it basically is identifying what sort of phase you are in, and it could be different for each lift. But the phases are a rebounding phase where you aren't really like making progress like that, and you just sort of like using this as a building block to build up to phases where you are making progress. A building phase where you are somewhere along the lines of making progress, but you're also sort of like where you were at previously. So you're not like making crazy progress or anything like that, but you're also not fully rebounding. It's like you're sort of like in the middle, right? And then a progressing phase where progress is explosive, progress is expected, progress is based on these last phases, like I know what, like, come on, like I know what I'm gonna do, right? So these two things combined are what allowed me to go from, hey, I'm not in the best of positions right now, to I'm gonna hit a 15 kg deadlift PR. People online basically saying like it would be cool if I hit like, you know, a 5 kg deadlift PR. Is like I already know what was gonna happen. It was genuinely wasn't a coincidence to me, right? Now, here's how I applied those. So in those initial phases where I was really just sort of like in a messy position, what I wasn't doing is I was just kind of like going through my training on a day-to-day basis and seeing what I could hit. I was just sort of like trying to PR, trying to force something here, force something there, and I wasn't allowing my training to build upon each other. I wasn't allowing the weeks and the days to build upon each other towards our ultimate goal. I was just trying to take each day for what it was and just sort of like randomly go about things, right? So I'm gonna hop into the computer right here, and I'm gonna show you guys an example of this. And I'll start from a very, very basic level in case you guys haven't watched any of the previous videos, so you guys would fully understand exactly what it is I mean by AGWA and exactly what I mean by identifying phase type. So you guys can see on the screen here, there are a couple different tabs below here, which is lifter A, lifter B, lifter C, lifter D, and my build, right? So that's my personal build that I did, which I will show you guys. So lifter A doesn't look at his training from a macro perspective at all. Lifter A just simply looks at his lifting on a daily basis, and he goes about things in a very like micro way. So he has his training laid out here and is like, okay, what could I hit at this particular RPE for this particular rep range on this particular exercise? And this is how most people train. Most people don't look at things from a holistic perspective. And they genuinely don't make the kind of progress that they would want to see. And usually beginners make progress like this, but intermediate to advanced people cannot make progress like this, right? Lifter B looks at things from a weekly basis. So, for example, lifter A might make the mistake of going too hard on these high bar pause squats, when lifter B, looking at things on a weekly basis or a bigger picture basis than lifter A, would see, hey, I have a main squat later on in the week, a 1x2 at a RPE of 6. So although I probably want to push this high bar pause squat, I don't want to go too crazy because the goal really isn't to push this high bar pause squat. The goal is really my main squat later on in the week. Similar with the pause deadlift, my goal is my main deadlift later on in the week, and I can understand that, right? So lifter B, a lot of people are lifter B, but as we go down, the percentages of people who think on this level kind of like shrink and shrink and shrink, and ideally you want to think more macro, you want to think more like lifter D, and even think the way how I would think or how I did think for my build, right? Lifter C, you can see they look at the entire training block. So you can see they have all the weeks laid out. They have week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4. So what they could do now is not just look at, okay, I don't want to push this exercise because this exercise is coming up later on in the week, but they could say, hey, I don't really need to go too crazy on this 1x5 bench press here on week 1 and week 2, because I know that I'm building up to a PR on that week 4, right? And yes, all these things are RPE listed, but the reality is that a lot of people, when they're looking at RPE, kind of like overestimate what they could do. And they don't just overestimate what they could do, but they overestimate the impact of what they could do on their training going forward. So for example, right, with me, let's say I have a 1x3 deadlift at an RPE of 6. And my goal for the end of the phase, let's say I want to hit a PR, my best set of 3 on deadlift is 860, right? 860 for 3, to me is very taxing, right? So if it is I was to hit that, I would need to come in fresh into that session, right? So let's say I wanted to hit 870 for 3 here. In reality, on week 1 and week 2 at an RPE of 6 and 6.5, right? Genuinely just simply looking at the RPE, I need to have 4 reps in the tank. I could probably do high 400s, high 800s, if not, what am I even saying? I could probably do high 700s, if not into the 800 pound range on both of these weeks here, considering just the RPE, right? Now, if I was to consider the rest of the phase, what that would let me know is I can't do that, right? Because if I started 800 pounds here, then I jumped up 0.5 RP, I did 815, then I jumped up 0.5 RP, I did 826 or 838 or something like that, that would be too many weeks in a row of pulling 800. So Lifter C looks at things on a more advanced basis because they are planning things out ahead of time to manage fatigue while also priming their body on a weekly basis, not just on a like daily basis, and also not just on like one particular day basis, right? So Lifter C is way more advanced than Lifter B and Lifter A, and they will see more progress than Lifter A and Lifter B, and they will see more sustainable progress than Lifter A and Lifter B, right? Lifter D, now you can see, looks at things on a multi-block basis. So they have the entire training block, obviously, kind of like down, and they understand, okay, how this each week plays into the next one, but they also understand how each block plays into the next one. And I've spoken about this on previous videos, and when I speak about this, obviously my clients do it as well, which I love. But if you have a coach, or even if you don't have a coach and you coach yourself, you need to be planning things out on a multi-block basis. You do not need to necessarily have the exact program laid out for the next 20 weeks, because obviously things will need to change as you go along. Things need to adjust here and there. But you need to understand at least the general structure or the general idea of where you are headed. Am I doing doubles next phase? Am I doing singles? Am I, doing a fatigue single and like a higher volume top set? What am I doing in these next phases? Is my secondary deadlift day going to be pushed? Is it going to be changed from pose deadlift to regular deadlift? Am I going to swap it out completely for RDLs? You need to have an understanding as to like the general idea of where you are heading, from a macro perspective, from a multi-block perspective, from a full build perspective. If you right now, right, let's say you're signing up with a coach, you are looking to compete in 6 months. Your coach, if it's a good coach, or you, if you are programming yourself and you're good at it, you should understand from now all the way to competition, this is the rough layout of what I kind of want to do leading into this competition to get the best result out of myself. If you are simply just, putting up a block where it's like, oh yeah, let me just go as hard as possible in this block or in this training week, which is even worse. I don't even talk about that because that's crazy. But let me just go as hard as possible in this training block and then we'll see where things go. That's insane, right? That's insane. Because the reason why training needs to be laid out like this is because your goal with training, especially leading into a meet, is to all culminate into this one day. So if the goal is to be your strongest on this one day, you need to have some sort of like undulation in your training, whereby you have those peaks and you have those valleys where you're not necessarily always at those peaks, because you will burn out at some point far before the meet or right before the meet, and then you don't perform. So Lifter D is in a much better position than Lifter A, B, and C. And this is what we mean by the AGWA method. Analyze and understand. That means taking a look at everything from a macro perspective. Goal set. That means setting goals each week for your top sets, for your variation movements like your high bar squats, your pause deadlifts, your last and press, everything like that. Not necessarily accessory movements like bicep curls or shoulder press, but setting goals for all these important sets, these critical sets, right? So that you're setting yourself up, even back downs actually, so that you're setting yourself up for things on a weekly basis, and you're setting yourself up for things on a block by block basis. And you also want to work backwards from those goals, because the way how you arrive at your week 3, your week 2, your week 1, the way how you arrive at your block 2 and your block 1 is based on your realistic goals that you have set for week 3 and your realistic goals that you have set for week 4 of each of those phases, right? So hopefully that makes sense. I've gone through AGWA more in-depthly in previous videos, but this one is really just to like brush up on it and give you guys like a breakdown on it. Now, identifying phase type, right? Identifying phase type, as I said, rebounding, building, and progressing. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna hop into my actual build, right? Of what I did over these last few months ago, from 5 months ago, being basically a complete shit show, to be frank, right? To actually now being where I want to be, right? And you can see here my actual build. This is not the entire program; it's just really showing all the like important sets, so to speak. And you can see here that in total, it was a 5-block build that I did, 5-phase build. And you can see how I labeled each one. So I had this as rebounding, and obviously I didn't like physically label it like this is a rebounding phase, but my mindset allowed me to know, okay, this phase is a rebounding phase. I don't need to push things too hard. I'm simply using this as a bridge to prepare my body for what is to come. I'm simply using this as a bridge to go from horrible training to set myself up to decent training, to then set myself up for great training. That's all it is, right? So rebounding, second phase also was rebounding, third phase also was rebounding. One thing to note with all these rebounding phases that you guys are seeing is that as you get more advanced, it becomes more difficult to will yourself into a PR. So let's say, for example, you are in bad training right now and you're literally 2 months into powerlifting. You could correct that bad training in one training block. As a matter of fact, you could correct that bad training in 2 weeks, right? Because you are nowhere near your genetic potential. You are nowhere near like lifting crazy numbers or anything like that. You just simply had some bad training. It's extremely easy to correct. You could do it in a short space of time. The reason why I had to go through 3 blocks, which is basically 3 months of rebounding training, which is where I basically really not even hitting any PRs and I just kind of like doing what I can, is so that I can set myself up for good training. And it is because I'm a very advanced lifter. I've been powerlifting for almost 10 years now. I have a lot of miles on my body. so that sounds crazy, right? But I have a lot of like mileage as far as like powerlifting. So it's like I need that time to like wind up. But the more intermediate you are and the more beginner that you are, is the easier it is going to be for you to go from rebounding to building or to progressing, like just like that, right? So rebounding, third phase. 4th block was rebounding / building, and then 5th block was building, realistically building / progressing. I'll go ahead and change that right now. But you guys get the idea as to like how much time I spent in that like rebounding period, right? And to the right there, you guys can see the numbers that I did for each one, right? Now, one thing to note here, right, and I really, really want to like emphasize this. As a powerlifter, in order to have good, predictable training, in order to utilize the AGWA method, in order to honestly make progress, become as elite as you possibly can, be a world champion powerlifter, especially in 2025, make astounding progress. In order to do any of that, you need to lock in. I honestly would probably release a video or a guide or something like that, like a full-on locking guide, because locking in, although it's like just a term that is thrown around, it's kind of like a brain rot term, where it's just like, hey, lock in. It is so important in powerlifting. And just to give you guys a general overview of what you need to do: nutrition, sleep, hydration, the training times, training intensity, supplementation, steps, mobility, extra body work, all of that, right? There is more, but those are like, I believe I touched on all the like main heavy hitting ones that make the biggest difference, especially as a natural lifter, right? Locking in is critical. And before I embarked on all of this, that's the first thing that I had to do. I had to lock in, or else none of this would work. You could rebound for a year and you're not going to progress on to building or progressing if you don't lock in, especially as a late intermediate to advanced lifter, because what you just what are you doing? You know, you're not giving your body the best set of circumstances to get stronger. I spoke about this in so many videos previously. Strength is not something that you could force. You simply facilitate an environment for strength to happen. You coerce your body into getting stronger, and you just simply give yourself that time, and it happens naturally. That is what the process of getting stronger is, right? So now that you understand the importance of locking in, let me go through how I went about all these phases here, just to give you guys an idea as to how I progressed on from the rebounding to the building and then to the building / progressing phase, right? So I was coming back from a squat injury, so the squat numbers especially will be a little bit low in these building phases, but all the numbers realistically were very low, right? So you can see on the bench press here, I finished off with 496 or 225 kilos, and that was a top set of 4. That was 10 kg, 10 kg below my best set of 4 ever. So very, very conservative, because when I did that set, it was like a RP9, which was 518. So it's very, very conservative set, but I did that again simply to set myself up for better training going forward, right? Pause squat, which was my main top set. I wasn't doing regular squats on my top sets. I was doing pause squats, but you guys could see I finished off with 617 there, which is extremely low. My best squat is 848. 617 for a set of 4. Crazy to finish off the block. That's insane, right? Then I had some deadlift variations, 485, which at this point is like 55 or 60% of my 1 rep max. Deadlift, I finished off with 804 for a triple. As I said, my best deadlift triple is 860. So I went extremely conservative there. Again, the mindset wasn't to be better in this particular phase. The mindset was to be better going forward. And the thing is, everybody should be able to do this. Everybody should be able to sacrifice 1 block, 2 blocks, 3 blocks for a bigger picture purpose. And the reason why everybody should be able to do this is because as head of the pack lifter, right, where in your weight class, a lot of people consider you the best to ever do it, right? I have a lot of pressure on me when my training isn't going well. You see guys like Bob, and then everybody else in the weight class, just basically all of a sudden crawling on the woodwork and just like taking jabs and stuff like that. That stuff gets to me. Like when it is I see, like I think it was in this exact training block when I did the 617 for 4 pause on squat, right? When I did that, I think it was that exact block where Bob had doubled, or I think he tripled 771 on squat, right? Which is my best triple on squat. And I'm heavier than him. So you can imagine, like psychologically, it's like, I need to push, like I need to make progress, but you can't allow any outside influences, whether it's social media, whether it's somebody in your gym who you have a personal rivalry with, whether it's just simply your desire to get stronger. You cannot allow that to influence your process. You have to trust your process, and once you do that and you lock in, I explain the importance of that, and you see things from a macro perspective and you believe in the plan, you're going to be good to go, right? So extremely easy, extremely light here. Bench, 529 for 3, which was in this phase. This was a PR match. I think it was slightly below my PR. I think my best triple might be 540. So slightly below, like 5 kilos below. Squat, you can see I ramped up a little bit, but obviously still nowhere near, my best triple or my best pause triple even. My best pause triple is 727 or 330 keys. Deadlift 848 for 3. So deadlift bumped up a lot there because this is the exact same rep range from the block 2. But again, still below my PR by 5 kilos. My PR is 859, as I said before, right? Now on to block 3. Bench, I took my best triple for a double, which was 540. That was pretty good. But again, still rebounding, still staying right below that threshold of what I've done best previously. And by this phase, I was already feeling good. Like I was already starting to feel stronger. I was already starting to feel like, hey, like I'm making progress again. My body is back to where it needs to be. But I decided to stay in the pocket and stay down, stay grinding, stay building just a little bit more. And all this while, I'm doing all of the good habits. I'm eating the protein, 1 to 1 grams of protein per pound of body weight. I'm going to bed as early as I can. I'm gaining my steps. I am obviously training at reasonable RPEs, working on technique, everything, doing all the good habits, building up that momentum, right? Deadlift, I did 865 for 2. That was, 7.5 kilos below my best double. And then block 4 is when I was finally like, all right, cool. Now it's time to like really like, progress on like, and build. Not all the way, which is why I still building / rebounding, but it was finally time to like get out of that like phase of just like staying down and keeping myself, at bay. Bench 551 for 2, which was a PR match, and it was much easier, although I did hit the rack. Squat, this transitioned over to regular squat, and I did 738 for 2, which was good. Still not my best, but it felt good, and I felt like that momentum was coming. And then deadlift, this was a 5 kilo PR, which was 892 for 2, and that's obviously a huge set, right? But you can see even in this phase, I didn't completely let myself loose and just say, okay, I'm going to take a PR on the bench and go 562 for 2. I listened to my body, match the PR. Squat, I listened to my body, and I was still considerably below my PR. And then deadlift, I listened to my body. I definitely wanted to go 904 for 2, but I understand I was setting myself up for something bigger. And then block 5, match my bench PR for a single at a much easier RP. It was a RP 8.5, right? Squat, still considerably below my RP, below my PR, but it felt great, so 782. And then deadlift, 15 kilo PR, all-time PR, 937, which felt great, right? So when you guys see me hit PRs and stuff like that, right? You don't want to just simply look at kind of like where I am at right now and it's just like, oh, forcing PRs, making progress, like building, whatever. You have to look at the build up, right? And when it is I was hitting these numbers, I was genuinely just like, I don't have anything to post. Everybody else is getting stronger, all those things. But I trusted the process, and it was something that I had to go through to get to a point where I could build strength sustainably, right? So hopefully that makes sense to you guys. My plan going forward from now is I am probably going to be doing a meet. I think I might announce it on the Kinglos podcast. Maybe that might come out before this video. But I'm probably going to be doing a meet in April. So I'm going to do what I can to get ready for that. It was kind of like short notice, only about 6 weeks. So my plan going forward is really just to probably repeat a similar phase to what I just did with low intensity, and then get back into some volume and honestly repeat a very, very similar build to this and build up to something even bigger, right? I'll probably get out of the rebounding phases a little bit faster, but this was genuinely my kind of like process of going from bad training to good training. If you guys are looking for a coach, I recently started taking on clients again, and I can help you guys build from where you are right now to where you want to be. Obviously, you can see that things are a process and it takes time, Once you trust the process, you're gonna see the progress that you want to see. I probably in the future gonna do a video breaking down one of my clients who I put through a very, very similar build to this. It wasn't 5 phases, it was 4 phases. And yeah, the progress that he saw was very, very astonishing. So let me know if you guys would want to see a video like that one. But yeah, I think that's it for this video. Don't want to make it too long. Hopefully you guys got some value from this, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace.